The first college football playoff rankings and bracket have been released. Let's talk about that. Because I think there were two messages sent, two pretty strong messages sent by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee to the college football world. Maybe three, actually. I think the first message is that the College Football Playoff Committee does not respect the ACC or Big 12. And in their defense, I don't know that the ACC deserves a ton of credit. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets were not getting much respect before they completely got it caught in the meat grinder on Saturday, and the College Football Playoff Committee rewarded them with a 17th ranking, essentially saying, you better hope Virginia loses a couple of times. You better hope you win the ACC championship and you better hope for some chaos above you because we don't believe that you're all that good. And it's somewhat a similar story in the Big 12. Let's take a look at the rankings and the who would be in if the bracket came out today. Texas Tech is the highest ranked Big 12 team at 8th overall. To put that into perspective, I beg your pardon, BYU is the highest ranked team at 7. BYU and Texas Tech are 7 and 8. The first 6 spots are reserved for the Big 10 and SEC. I think that should tell you how little respect the ACC and Big 12 are going to get in this situation from the College Football Playoff Committee because Virginia is ranked 14th. Got it. But the two big messages, in my opinion, are the first message, and they're similar messages, by the way. The first message is to Notre Dame. Notre Dame, they are willing to believe that the Fighting Irish are very, very good. Good enough that they are willing to look past some blatant problems in their resume. In that, Notre Dame has 2 losses. You know who the top 2-loss team in the country is, according to College Football Playoff Committee? Notre Dame. They're willing to say, hey, you lost to Texas A&M, who has either the best win in 2025 thus far of these teams against Notre Dame, or Indiana has the best win over Oregon. I think you can make the case either way. Obviously, the College Football Playoff Committee thinks that Indiana has the best win because they ranked Oregon above Notre Dame. But the College Football Playoff Committee very abundantly, clearly thinks Notre Dame is very good because they have them as the top 2-ranked 2-loss team in the country. That's above Miami, who beat Notre Dame. And I have continually, and I'll pound this throughout the rest until we get to when the field is set, because I believe it in my heart of hearts. The College Football Playoff Committee will allow you a mulligan. They will allow anybody to lose to anybody else once. You lose a second time, and it wasn't by somebody beating you. It wasn't by a team that is either at the time or currently viewed as a better program than you, better team than you, higher ranked opponent than you. You're good. For instance, they'll throw Notre Dame's loss to Texas A&M out the window. They'll say, yep, Texas A&M's real good. They're better than you, but that doesn't disqualify you from being one of the 12 best teams in the country. And I wouldn't be shocked, to tell you the truth, if they're also now willing to throw out the Miami game and say, yeah, but at the time, the Hurricanes were one of the top 5 teams in the country, and you lost on the road to start the year. We'll throw that one out too. Notre Dame is going to get the benefit of the doubt, and they deserve the benefit of the doubt at some point because their remaining schedule is a who's who of who sucks in the ACC. Notre Dame, barring an absolute unmitigated disaster and collapse, is going to make the college football playoff. Because I'm here to tell you the chances that both Texas Tech and BYU get into the college football playoff feel pretty slim. And Notre Dame's at the 10 seed. The chances that they continue to vault their way up because they are not facing a murderer's row for their schedule by any stretch of the imagination coming down the final couple of weeks of the season. They don't have, and this is kind of famous last words, right? On paper. Well, if they're playing the games on paper, we might as well just go ahead and say Ohio State's national championship. I get all of that. I truly understand that. But when you look at what Notre Dame has coming up the rest of the way, Boston College, Navy. No, I beg your pardon. They beat Boston College on Saturday. Navy at Pitt, Syracuse at Stanford. Navy at Pitt, Syracuse at Stanford. If you go 4-0 in that stretch, you're in the college football playoff. And I'm here to tell you, you might be 4th or 5th on the list, Notre Dame, of teams that you probably would pick in order to win the national championship. I would say it's Ohio State, Texas A&M, Alabama, Indiana. I might put Notre Dame above Indiana, to tell you the truth. That's a different discussion for a different day. But the Fighting Irish, if they don't stub their toe against somebody that they absolutely would be viewed as just an epic loss, it's going to make the college football playoff, and that's because the college football playoff committee believes they're very good, and they told them that on Tuesday night. The other takeaway is that the college football playoff committee believes that the SEC is by far and away the best, deepest conference in the country with no real rivals. And they are setting the SEC up for, don't come bitching at me on that Sunday in December if y'all don't feel like you got enough teams in the playoff, because you are currently 3, 4, 5, 6 in the list. We are putting 4 of you definitively on the list right now. Hey, don't blow it. The next 2 out of the 12-team playoff are Texas and Oklahoma, who are in the SEC. So of the 12 teams that they ranked 1 through 12, 6 of them are in the SEC. Now, is some of this going to sort itself out? Yes, undeniably. But the College Football Playoff Committee's message is, don't come bitching at me. I put you in the top 12. You had your chance to win your way there. You did not do it. Don't come blame me. But the message is clear. We believe that the top 2 teams in the country are from the Big Ten, and the best and deepest conference is the SEC. Because Oklahoma won a elimination game on Saturday against Tennessee. It undeniably was winner gets to stay in college football playoff contention. Loser, enjoy the Citrus Bowl. And you can't spell citrus without UT. I wish Steve Spurrier coached college football in a social media, digital media age, because the TikToks, the Twitter of Steve Spurrier, unbelievable. But we don't get that. Life sucks and then you die. Anywho, the 6 of the top 12, half of the top 12 teams in the country, according to the college football playoff, rest in the SEC. And so they're saying, Texas, if you don't make the college football playoff, the only team you have to complain, the only person you can complain about is yourself, because we are setting you up to have one of the best wins in the country should you be able to beat the Georgia Bulldogs. There is game after game after game that now in the SEC has gigantic implications for the college football playoff because of the way that these teams were ranked. Now, Texas is 7-2. I think that we are potentially staring at a Texas getting in, even if they lose, because they have 3 games left: at Georgia, Arkansas, Texas A&M. If they go 2-3 in that set, and A&M hasn't just dropped one, or Georgia hasn't dropped one before that, that is a chance to have a top 5 win on your resume. And then your losses are against the number 1 team in the country, which is which is in that boat of, hey, they're better than you. What are you going to do about it? You lost it on the road. Okay. And then if they lose to Georgia or A&M, okay, you lost to one of the top 5 teams in the country. Sorry. And then there's you lost to Florida. You beat yourself. That's the one we can't explain away. I'm here to tell you that a 9-3 Texas is going to be ranked. I don't think this is horribly outrageous to suggest. I think a 9-3 Texas is going to be ranked above a 11-1 BYU. If BYU loses, or whoever loses between BYU and Texas Tech on Saturday, in what has turned into a wildly important game, whoever loses that game, because they're 7-8 right now, is going to fall to about 14-15. 2-loss Texas is going to be ranked above whoever loses between Texas Tech and BYU. I think, make no mistake about it, BYU Texas Tech on Saturday is an elimination game. Because if you think that undefeated BYU is going to leapfrog Ole Miss or Georgia because they beat Texas Tech, this is when those kind of self-fulfilling prophecies go the opposite way. In the SEC, these self-fulfilling prophecies go, well, the SEC is the best and deepest conference because they're ranked 6 of their teams are ranked in the top 12. And then you're like, well, who ranked them in the top 12? Well, I did. I said they were good. And now those wins look really good because those teams were good because I said they were good. Well, what if they lose? Well, they lost because we said those teams were good. It's a circle motion. And in the Big 12, it goes the opposite way. BYU beat Texas Tech, but I told you that Texas Tech wasn't that good to begin with because I only ranked them 8 because they're not as good as Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, etc. Or if Texas Tech beats BYU, they get to say, well, we told you BYU wasn't that good. They were only propped up because they had a 0 in their loss column, so they should have been thrown out to begin with, but we had to throw them a favor because they're in a Power 4 conference and they were undefeated, so we had to treat them like they were equals, but everybody knew they weren't. And it's the reverse cyclical motion. But it's still a self-fulfilling prophecy. Whoever wins that game is dropping out of the top 12, and whoever wins that game is staying put. Maybe they move up a spot. Maybe BYU, they can then say, well, we beat a top 10 ranked Texas Tech team. And the Big 12 is not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to say, well, they were number 10. They were the top 10 when we beat them, because that's only reserved for SEC schools who can say, oh, we beat Tennessee when they were in the top 15. Yeah, and now they're 8-4 and they're struggling to stay in the top 25. You don't get to claim that as a top 10 win. Neither here nor there. BYU wins. Guess what? They get to stay at number 7. Cool. Congratulations. Texas Tech wins. They get to move up to number 7. The Big 12 and ACC are not going to get any respect in these rankings from the College Football Playoff Committee. And the SEC is going to get the benefit of the doubt, just like Notre Dame, whether it's earned or not. They're going to get it. And they're saying in week 1, if you don't make it in, you only have yourself to blame. So do with that information what you will, because I'm not going to sit here and listen to you bitch again the entire offseason that Ole Miss, who couldn't beat fucking Kentucky, who couldn't throw a forward pass last year, or Alabama, who got their shit pushed in by Oklahoma, didn't get in the College Football Playoff, but SMU did. This ain't fair. And the College Football Playoff Committee is telling you, I'm setting you up to have as many teams as you want in the playoff. I don't think it's necessarily a coincidence. I'm not big like deep state, like, oh man, there's conspiracy to have 2 first-round playoff games for the SEC in the first round because Georgia's number 5 and Ole Miss is number 6. I don't think that that's unreasonable rankings. I would be upset if it were different. I think, to tell you the truth, I think does anybody believe BYU and Texas Tech are better than Ole Miss and Georgia? No. Okay. I don't think that this is some gigantic conspiracy. Would a Notre Dame BYU first round playoff game be really fun? Yeah, it would. The likelihood that it happens, not great. I think it's a bit crazy to overreact a little bit to the first rankings because this stuff is undeniably going to change. But I do think you can dissect the messages being sent. And they are. The college football playoff has no respect for the ACC and Big 12, and that's unlikely to change. They believe that Notre Dame is very, very good. Probably good enough that if you were to give them truth serum, they believe that Notre Dame is better than Oregon, Texas Tech, and BYU. Probably. And they don't want to hear any bitching from the SEC about who did not make it because the field is set up to benefit that deepest and best conference. And if those teams don't take advantage of it, I guess that proves that you weren't the deepest and best conference now, doesn't it? Those are the messages being sent by the College Football Playoff Committee after the first rankings. That will do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. I appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you're listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way to helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.